Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the European Crossover webinar. And I am seeing here that the cable is once again back on the move. Let's go and take a look at that quickly. We closed once again below that 3382 area, but we've seemed to be able to go in and push right back up, back above it. So it's been pretty volatile. Like I said, this week was a little bit longer than what I would have liked when I originally looked at this. Now this is for Friday, which would have been like a gravestone type jojo, which opened the door for us to go lower. And they hit those stops once we got below 33.82. We pushed quite a bit, and on Monday we were actually below this area here. I think we're like at 32.35 or something like that. We were just below 32.48 at the time. We said, well, it's a little bit above it, but that's our level, 32.48, which would have been our bias chart support. I didn't think there's no way that this thing would come all the way back, which it did, but we closed just a hair below 30.32, and that opened the door yesterday for us to push back down below it. We rebounded, but once again, we closed below 30.32. Now today we're pressing above this. This whole Brexit thing, like I said, you have to be careful because these things are, we're getting these swings back and forth, but they keep saying they don't think it's going to get done, but I disagree. I know this whole thing about, oh, the people are surprised. The UK is not going to bend. They're politicians. They always bend. So I really doubt that they're not going to come away with the deal. I'd be very surprised. And the euro dollar is holding steady above 21 in a relatively tight session, which actually has been the case for the Aussie um, as well as the Kiwi. Oh, we're actually finally now starting to look after quite a couple of days in a relatively tight range. This is a bit surprising. So we're pushing even higher now on the Aussie. That's a bit of a surprise. We'll take a quick look at the Kiwi. And the Kiwi's even been in a very tight range, but pushing higher. We haven't taken out the highs though. And lastly, we'll take a look at the CAD. And still pressing on these lows. Let's go in and we'll take a quick look at where we stand here on the equities. And this was a surprise for me. I thought that we would actually start to break down. I mean, when we took the dip, and I thought, okay, now, as I said, I thought, okay, now the worm's starting to turn. Now we rallied, and you can see here, I'm going to open this on the 2 hour. We actually came up here to the 127% extension, and the market actually hit it to the tick, and then we backed off. Now we moved up a little bit higher, and the market is acting a little bit tired at this point. We'll have to see how things open up, but once again, you can see how much you can see where that we're coming up with it, this high, this low. There's 127% extension. We hit it right to the tick, and then we backed off a little bit. We came back towards the end of the day and pushed a little bit higher, and we're actually working a little bit on our lows for the day. Things are still relatively high when you look at the index overall. The only thing is, once again, I look at other equities, cash equities that have done really well, but they're not at all-time highs yet. But we'll move this higher since we did move higher. So we'll see whether or not we can back off a little bit from here. I think overall, there are reasons why this market can be bullish and stay that way. And we did see big moves also in the S&P. The only thing is, I think we're just it's been just a straight line up in here. You can see that for the most part is that at some point I'm thinking is that they may start to say we'll just come back down here and make a run. Realistically, I'm thinking back towards this 406 area here, just for starters. Whether we start to see that today, I don't know, but you can see it's been one just progression, but it's not like a blow off where I wouldn't say like a true blow off, but I'm saying where we make a good move and then we make a further solid move in Asia and we're still on the bid and we're just not seeing that. It's just like one progression. We move here, we consolidate, we push a little bit higher, we push just a little bit higher, and we just kind of consolidate again. We push a little bit higher, and I don't know, maybe today we'll try and pare back. But this was a bit surprising. I didn't think they would come off. Now you can see this more clearly on the 30-minute, and we reached that 127% extension right off the bat in Asia. We got this. Now this would be like a gravestone doji. We weren't able to take out the highs, although we stayed above the close here, and we've dipped back. We've stayed below this here, and we'll see whether or not they can press a little bit lower, maybe give up some of those gains. We shall see. With that, we're going to go back into the. I guess we can stay here, and we'll cover the news. Now, the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollars tread water ahead of Brexit talks and U.S. stimulus. The Australian New Zealand dollars paused near 2018 highs ahead of global risk events such as Brexit trade talks in Brussels, indecision over U.S. pandemic stimulus, and looming European Central Bank meeting. It was as high as 74.54 earlier this week, a level last seen in April of 2018, led by a combination of factors, including solid macroeconomic data recently and a broader U.S. dollar sell-off. U.S. Job opening data is due later for Wednesday, and on Thursday, the main focus is on the ECB. Investors expect easing, but are unsure what, if anything, the bank may do or say about the tearaway euro that has gained 8% this year. That's another thing that surprised me, is that I would think leading into the ECB, you would see some further euro weakness, and we just haven't seen it. Closer to home, a gauge of Australian consumer sentiment hit a 10-year high in a sign of domestic activity and will remain strong in the final quarter of 2020 after a stellar third quarter. Nomura analyst Andrew Ticehurst expects the Aussie to hit 78 cents over the next 12 months, ongoing trade tensions with China notwithstanding. And the RBA is now on the sidelines, and its next meeting on the 2nd of February focused instead on the shift to likely central bank easing elsewhere, which could further boost risk sentiment, Ticehurst wrote in a note. The Australian economic clouds are lifting too, and a very low COVID count and rising mobility and confidence are positive for the AUD. And the dollar slips as vaccine optimism saps haven demand, and sterling on the edge. Reuters, the dollar slipped in Asia on Wednesday as signs of progress in beating back the COVID pandemic sapped demand for the safest assets, while the pound was on tenterhooks ahead of a leaders' meeting to try and salvage a Brexit trade deal. The U.S. currency declined against most of its major peers as Britain began mass vaccinations and the U.S. edged closer to fiscal stimulus, and it slipped about 0.4. Sterling steadied above the recent lows before Wednesday dinner, before PM Boris Johnson and ECB or European Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen in Brussels. And against the rest of the currencies, the dollar was a tenth lower at 90.81. Sterling, which is whipsawed while trade negotiations are deadlocked, steadied against a weaker dollar but remained on the edge going into the leaders' meeting. Britain faces a chaotic split from the European Union. Well, we already know all that, so we're going to spend any further time discussing that. Says, put a gun to my head, I'd be a buyer of sterling as I see the risk skewed that Bourse would come back with some sort of an agreement, said Chris Weston. I agree. I mean, they're saying, oh, the UK will back away. They're not going to back away. They're not going to walk away. Not in this environment with COVID and all that. It's just not going to happen. They're going to come up with a deal. And so with that being said, we'll move into the analysis. Now, earlier we did have German import and export numbers. As we go into the U.S. session, let's see here. We will have Mexican core inflation at 7 a.m. Eastern. We do get JOLTS job openings at 10 a.m. Eastern, along with wholesale inventory. And that'll be it. So JOLTS at 10 a.m. Eastern with wholesale inventory. Take a look where we are here on the euro dollar. So the euro maintained its close above 21 on Tuesday. Support remains at 20.51 with resistance at 21.47. The high today so far has been, oh wow, 21.47. Okay. I just went with the level on that right here, which gave me the 21.47 right there. Eked it out. There we go. Let's go move into the cable. So cable traded in a tight range on Tuesday, recovering towards the highs of the day, yet closing below 33.82. Resistance will be 34.95 with support at 31.52. Let's see, 34. I don't know why I didn't mean to, honestly, I didn't mean to put 34.95. I meant to put 33.95, but we're actually going to go with the market right there. So I don't know why I put way up here 34.95. Well, if we opened up, we would be much higher pushing here. That would be resistance right there. So I guess I was looking at this sideways. But you see the closing bar here? It'd be, in this case, it'd be 34. Let's see. The actual tip is 34.55. I go with those closing bodies. And because we're so close to 33.82, you'd make another push. 33.95 would only be 17 pips away. That wouldn't make any sense at 33. So, but I didn't mean for it to go all the way up to 34.95. That'd be too much of a stretch. It would be right here where we would find the resistance. And then for support, what did I say? It was at 31.52. That's if things turn around and fall all the way back. And I don't know why I put these so wide, because it shouldn't be that wide. If we were to fall back, and it'd be back towards this 32.48, it would actually be right here, which would be below the day's lows, but right here with this body, right there, which would be 32.66. That thing was way off. Holy smokes. I don't know what I was looking at. Now on to the Aussie dollar. This looked like it was consolidating, and look, it broke out. Now this surprised me. So the Aussie was glued to a tight range on Tuesday. No changes. Resistance on Wednesday will be 74.50. We've got that already, with support at 73.33. So no changes. But we are pressing above 74.50. What would be the next level? Let's go and take a look on a weekly chart. It would be right there. 75.94, while it is a stretch way up in here. You see where this body closed and we opened? You could go there, which would be 75.08. It'd be 75.08, but I'm sticking with the 74.50. But the next level would be 75.08 on a weekly. As I said, no changes. So we stuck with the 74.50. They are 15 pips above it right now, but sticking with that as it was was at the beginning of the week. Kiwi is stuck in a very tight range. No changes. Resistance will be 70, 77. We're actually right there, 70, 78. We're supported 69, 67. And you can see that, no changes. And today we had a bunch of these no changes. Let's go and move into the dollar CAD. I think the dollar CAD was the same way too. The dollar CAD is trying to find a bottom. No changes for Wednesday. Resistance for Wednesday will be 28.48 with support at 27.38. So the only difference was we did push this up to 28.48. We said no changes. Onto the dollar peso. So the dollar peso continues to languish. Support on Wednesday will be 19.59 with resistance at 19.98. Now, in case we do break, that's the next weekly level, which is 19.59. Onto the dollar yen. Oh, no changes here in the dollar yen. Look how dead we've been. Absolutely dead. So on the downside, 364. We are a ways from that. On the upside, 452. And we just keep getting a tighter and tighter range. Look, today is crazy. Wow, look at that. We're trading like a 15 pip range. That's unbelievable. Let's go to the cash dollar index. So the dollar index remains in a weakened position. Resistance on Wednesday will be 91.42. There's no real changes, and support at 90.28. So as we're sitting in these tight ranges, we're just sticking with these ranges here. Let's go and move into the cross rates. Oh, we are starting to open the door up here in this Kiwi yen. And we've pressed higher. I have to go with this body. Now, even though we opened up in here, I've got to go with that body, which is going to be right there at 73.71, which is where we already were anyway. And on the downside, I'll stick with the 72.77 if we break lower. It doesn't look like that right now, but once again, stick with this resistance 73.71. Onto the euro pound. Yeah, it's been all over the place with these Brexit talks. resistance we had previously was 91.06. I still like that 91.06. High for the day was 90, basically 90.80, but I still like that 91.06. And on the downside, we had 90.17. Yeah, we'll stick with that. We'll stick with the 90.17 on the downside too. And that's coming right there. Actually, if you went with this body, let's take a look at a 2-hour chart. This is your real demand comes in right in here. That's right there, 90.05. Onto the euro odd. Boy, quite the slip here as Aussie starts to strengthen here, and kind of out of the blue with this strength in the Aussie. Certainly looked like I was open to a little bit of a pullback. Support's going to be here at 61.98. You can see right here and right there. So you look at that and you pull that right to there, right there. Here's the body, but here's the bottom of these wicks, and that's confluence with this body here, and that gives us we'll just go right there, 62 even. The upside, well, the surf looks like they've turned that away, and the upside will have stuck in with this same 63, 68. We've pulled off. We were at the time 63, was it 45? So that was still fine there. Moving on to the Euro Kiwi. Kiwi's strengthening a bit, but not that much. Support's going to come in right there at that body, right there, with the close, which would be 70.96. And on the upside, this body right there, and actually that body's a little bit higher, which is 72.09. And onto the ASEAN. This has really turned around, just like the Aussie, and has kind of, just when it looked like, you can see right here, like it just might be tiring out and open to slide back, this Aussie. We got that good economic data. They've done the best really of any country. I guess North Korea is, not North Korea. I mean, South Korea's done exceptionally well, but of the key countries we're looking at, I guess also there's no doubt they're head and shoulders above everybody. And I guess it's just going to really push even further, even though it looked like it might be a little bit stretched here, or more than a little bit stretched. Look at that. Look at this move here. A dip back, that's reasonable. We come here, okay, fine. Here, now it looks like we can maybe pause a bit, and then we push even higher. We'll just go with the levels, which is 77, 76. And on the downside, that body right there, that closing body, which is 76.90. On to the guppy. Nice little solid move in here. As we strengthen, resistance is going to come in right there at that body close, which is 39.98. With support coming in right there at the level, which is 38.97. And lastly, to the starting odd. You have this little hammer right there, and we dipped back, but we held in here. The support's going to be the low from yesterday, which is 79.13. With the high right there, the body right there, which is 80.84. And moving back to the cable. Still holding up really very well. Look at this at 34.30. And take a look at the euro. And still, this is a surprise ahead of the ECB. I would have expected this to maybe start to rotate a little bit lower, but rotate nothing. Amira says to look at IWM, Platinum, and NVIDIA. We'll take a look at NVIDIA since we already have it here. You can see here in the pre-market, it's opened a little bit lower here. And this is on the 2-hour. We had a pretty good run here. Let's take a look at it on the daily. Now this is a little bit bearish right here. This doji. And you can see we've seen the follow through here. So you would have liked to have seen this close higher, or at least even press up into this resistance. And instead we close with the doji here. Almost looks like what you'd call an evening star. And you see the follow through on this downside. So look at the pre-market hours. Amazon did see a nice turnaround yesterday. It's a little bit lower. We're seeing the same thing with Microsoft. It really turned around yesterday. This is when we were dipping on the futures, and I was telling people, I go, hey, careful, we've got support here, and that was at 12,509. And I said, hey, we're into support here with Microsoft, in which we were. You can see that. And then we just made this huge turnaround. We're a little bit lower today. So once again, that's what I'm saying. I think the market might be a little bit stalled. Another thing is Apple. This is a huge level for Apple, which is 125. And we pushed, but we could never even get to 125. Got to 24.98, but they couldn't bust the stops. Apple, which I don't even know why that was necessarily news, but they opened about the Apple Fitness, but that had already been before. But I think people are really starting to fight this at this 125. It appeared. I saw quite a few people, notable traders, indicating not that it wasn't overdone, but they're saying that's no news, blah, blah, blah. And to the credit, we could not take out 125. 125 is key. You would have thought at least he could have taken out with stops. Take a look at IWM, which I don't follow. Hold on. This thing looks like it's just up and away. I mean, this has just been like crazy. Look at this. And it shows no signs of abating. I mean, they're thinking that the smaller caps anyways are the ones that are going to supposedly benefit the most as the economy turns around. So this is a play, really a continuous play, is the better news and the economy is going to reopen. So this thing is not letting up whatsoever. I don't see anything to project or say, oh, well, this is where it would stop here. It doesn't. I mean, you can go on and do a fib off of this. That's a heck of a move. Holy smokes. So we're right there at the 127% extension. You see that? So from this high, dropping down to the lows in March. And we're at the extension, 127% extension, which we saw the same thing in the NASDAQ. See that? We're just about right there. That's what I was just saying is I'm thinking we might see a little bit of a stall. I'll start with the NASDAQ, but I mean, you may see it here with IWM. Platinum. Well, we got that. If you remember, we talked about that. I said if we could get this close above here, we could really start to take off, and take off we did. We did go and push it up in here. We kind of backed off a bit here. My guess is here was resistance, and that was support. We got that close above that, and that really shot him up in here. Immediately, that would be support here, which it is 1,025. Unless we can get a close above that, this is going to hold for the 1,025. And if you're looking at it on where the resistance would be, there's resistance right there, 1,057. And that'll do it here. Thanks for joining us here on the European Crossover webinar, and we'll see you in the chat room.